Hello, welcome to the very first vlog of this channel. And this is quite a cool one to start with because it is, like it says in the title, it's Walsall Scare Maze. Now, despite me living about 15 minutes away from Walsall, I've never heard about this event and it's in its third year running. This year actually won an award for their Halloween event last year at ScareCon, which is like quite a big convention in the scare industry. So I thought it's definitely worth checking out, considering, like I say, I'm really close to it. Looking forward to the maze, Joe?
No, I'm scared.
Oh yeah? How come?
It's gonna be scary.
You've done loads of mazes now?
Yeah, but this one's worse than Alton Towers.
You don't know that though. Let's do this!
Be brave!
So we're about to go into the maze now. This is my friend Craig, he's never done a scare maze before. How are you feeling, mate?
Apprehensive.
I'm scared.
Good luck, Craig.
Yay!
Okay.
No, okay.
Hi guys. Hi guys.
We've just come out of Walsall Scare Maze. I'll give my review a little bit later on, but I just wanted to get Craig's first review of his first ever scare maze. How are you, mate?
It was crazy, very scary, terrifying.
He wasn't scared at all. He wasn't hiding behind me and Joe at all, was he?
No, I would never do that.
So what was your scariest bit, would you say?
Probably the bit at the end when the blonde woman was screaming really high pitched, and there was something about it that was just horrific.
It was a very
And they bang
good,
a lot. They bang stuff, bang all the time, and it freaks you out.
But for Craig, I think that was a very good scare maze for him to do first. It was pretty up there in terms of scares. So.
Yeah.
And you're so brave, well done.
Well done, Craig. Yay! So, it is now one day later. We went on Saturday, it's now Monday evening. So I was originally planning to do the review the night of the event, right afterwards. So it's fresh in my memory, but we didn't get back till 1 AM. Yesterday, Sunday, went to Cardiff for a gig. So now here we are. So, Walsall Scare Maze. Now, I've even got prepared, hold on. So obviously it's not fresh in my memory like it was, but look, I've even got notes and everything. So like I said, I didn't go to last year's event, so I can't really compare the two. But I do think it's really cool that they are doing a different Halloween event each year, like a different maze. They're not just repeating the same old, same old. I think that's really cool actually. So when we first got there, we parked up. They've got a really small car park, but there is street parking, so that's really handy. It's quite tough to get a spot, but I've managed to find one. So when we first got there, we basically went through two double doors down an alleyway, and you come out into a big, massive courtyard. You kind of give your tickets to the person, the security guard out front, and then they basically exchange it for an actual little ticket. We just took out our print-off tickets, and they exchanged it for an actual ticket. So then you go in there, and basically what it is, it's a massive smoking area to a pub. That's basically what it is. But it doesn't seem like that when you first go in there. It took us a while to realise that that's what we were standing in. But everything's done to a really high standard. The quality of kind of the scenery that's around is really top notch. So you've got a food outlet where you can get all your food from. They do like pizza, burgers, chips, onion rings, all sorts of stuff. Ida Pizza, amazing pizza actually. So one of the standout bits for that area is in the middle of the whole court, they have, if you remember back in the day, at Alton Towers, they used to have the swans on the lake. Well, they've actually got one, they bought one, and it's absolutely huge. I don't remember them being that big, to be honest, but I guess because it's not in water, it just seems huge. But yeah, it looks really good. I mean, it's a bit sad that it's being used for like drink holders, but the problem is the queue kind of went around the swan, so I'm not surprised that people are just putting the drinks in there. But they've got like a nice kind of light on it that reflects on it. They're looking after it well. And I've just got to say a big shout out to all the staff. Everyone was just lovely, really helpful, really high spirits, and yeah, it was just a brilliant vibe, and I really appreciate that in an event. So our actual maze time was 10 p.m, so it's quite a late one, but that's because when I went to go book tickets, all the other time slots had been sold out. So that's great for them. That is obviously a really high in demand event. So we got there for about 9 o'clock. Had something to eat, had a few drinks, and then we joined the queue at about 10 p.m. Now it took about an hour to get to queue up all the way into the maze. Now it seems like quite a long time to wait for just one maze, and granted it is, but the thing is, the queue that you're in is quite an open queue, so you can leave the queue if you're with a group of friends. You can leave the queue, go to the toilet, get another drink, go get something to eat. So it's not like you're kind of just penned in for ages. It is actually kind of a very relaxed queue. So it kind of went really quick, but yeah, I think for some people, if you're not expecting to queue up for like an hour, it might be a bit of a surprise. The reason to do it is so you have a good run through of it. The way they explain it on the website is, look, we want everyone to have the same experience, so we need to give the actors a time to reset everything, and we don't want kind of groups catching up with each other, and I completely agree with that. One of my biggest annoyances in scare mazes is when you've got a really slow group in front of you. You know, it's bound to happen, you know, people get scared, that's the whole thing, and they're scared to go through doors. So I hate it when you catch up with another group, or another group catches up with you, because it kind of spoils that kind of atmosphere. So I would rather wait an hour and have a decent run through than wait 10 minutes and, like I say, just catch up with the group, and then suddenly you're in like a big conga line of like 20 people, and then it's like the actors they haven't got enough chance to like give everyone an equal scare. So I would, like I say, I think it's worth waiting the hour, and like I say, you can go in and out of the queue, you're not penned in. So we got to the front of the queue. I was, as usual in every scare maze, for some reason, I'm always first. But I'm not complaining, because I always feel like that's the best place to be in terms of scares, and that's what we're going to a scare maze for. So this was a bit peculiar. I'm not going to give away everything that happens in the maze, just the key scenes, because it will help my review in a little way. So you're sat down on these benches and a judge walks in. Now, if anyone watching this has ever been to any of the Merlin dungeon attractions, you'll be very familiar with this scene. So the judge comes in, gets someone to stand up, you're found guilty, how do you plead? You know the score. But the benches you're sat on actually had a vibrating mechanism in them, so I thought that was actually quite a nice little touch. I mean, I know that a lot of the dungeons have that type of little gimmick, but I just wasn't expecting it for kind of a small kind of Halloween event, you know. So that was quite good. It just threw me off a little bit that it was like a proper dungeon scene inside a scare attraction. It was just a bit odd. But from there, we were told to kind of sentenced to 30 years down the tunnels. So we're led out into another little room. But the problem is, I couldn't really see where I was going. So I just went through this curtain, and then I ended up back in the judge room, and then everyone else behind me. So we kind of was just like, oh, okay, let's get back around. So then I wasn't first anymore, which kind of annoyed me a little bit, because I wanted to be first. So we went through all these little corridors, and there was, like I said, I'm not going to tell you everything, but there was some really good jump scares in there. The thing about this maze is the acting in it is so on point. They really obviously enjoy their job, and they'd been doing it all night. Like I say, like we were 10 o'clock and they were still going. At that point, at the end of the corridors, the series of corridors, we were met by a landlady, and she invited us into her pub. So the pub turned out to be the Garrison. So if you're a fan, or you've watched a little bit of Peaky Blinders, you'll know the pub well. So we were led inside there, and again we got another scene from the dungeons, where if you've been to the Alton Towers one, we have the I think it's Dick Turpin there, but this we have Thomas Shelby. So she's saying, have you heard about Thomas Shelby? He's really angry. Someone's dobbed him in. And then we have a bit of some lighting effects. The lighting effects are really strong in there as well. I forgot to say that even in the judge scene. It wasn't done on the cheap. It's all done properly, well done. So we have the lights going off, and then we have the speakers of Thomas Shelby saying, have you dobbed me in? So, like I say, it's very, very dungeon. I've done a lot of the dungeons now, so very familiar with all the scenes. So we have another one then. Then Thomas Shelby appears, played by a really great actor, I thought. And then we have to obviously escape out the pub. We go down some other little corridors. For me, my favourite bit of the whole thing was the way they did the corridors, because it was very disorientating, really dark. I don't like it when you go through mazes and you can see a lot of things. It wasn't pitch black, so you're trying to feel around, but they were just well lit. And everywhere you went, there was actors just jumping out on you. There was never one bit of the maze where I thought, they could do with some other actors in here. And then we come to a butcher. He tells us we're about to enter Cannock Chase, and then we go through Cannock Chase, and they did that quite nicely as well. It's very subtly done in terms of feeling like you're going through kind of a wood. There's a lot of great smell pods in there, so that adds to the atmosphere. Some really clever use of lasers. If you've done some mazes before, you may have seen them where they kind of go across and it feels like you're going through water. That was really nicely done. And then, like I say, there's loads of other little bits. There wasn't really like an actual storyline, like a narrative storyline going through the whole way. It was kind of just like split up into scenes. Very much like the way a dungeon is done. So the last scene is, I'm not going to talk about the last scene, but the last scene was a really great finale. I thought it was really well done. So obviously from the last scene we come out, and then that's when we come back into the outside bar bit I was talking about. The outside bar, that's actually indoors, but if you go, you'll know what I'm on about. I was kind of expecting a chainsaw at the end, because kind of everyone's doing it now. Every scare maze, it seems like they have to have a chainsaw. I personally, I like chainsaws because they do frighten you, but I feel like we're really overdoing the chainsaws these days, so it's quite nice not to have one actually. So yeah, we come out. Now, when we come out, they said, have you had your photo taken? And we was like, no. So apparently you meant to have your photo taken right at the start, but I don't think it worked for our run through. I know the group behind us, they went round and had their picture taken again, so you can purchase a photo. Like I said, I didn't even see what the photos looked like. So yeah, that was our experience of Walsall Scare Maze. I think it's a really solid maze. Look, I mean, for the money, like I say, we paid £10.50 because it was a weekend, but in the week it's £8.50, so that's the same price as, a scare maze at Alton Towers, and it's up there with it. Like I say, it won an award last year. The theming's done really well. The acting is spot on. In terms of the lighting's done really well. The sounds. It's just overall a great scare maze, and you can see a lot of work's gone into it, a lot of passion, and I can see this being a really big event going in the future as well. I think what made it for me the most was the whole event surrounding it. The fact that you had the food, you had the bar, there's a really great atmosphere, like I say. The music they were playing out in the courtyard was like really nice, cheesy 90s music. So it just felt like you was at a party really. And that's what really made it for me. So in terms of like any constructive criticism, really the only thing I'd like to see for next year really is just to lose the dungeon inspired scenes. I think the group who organise these events, I obviously don't know who they are, but I'm guessing they're linked to the pub that it's at. They showed so much imagination in the rest of the entire maze that I think they could come up with something way more original than the dungeon scenes. I think it's different. For me, I go to a lot of these attractions, so I see it again and again and again. Obviously, for someone who doesn't really do them type of attractions, it's great. And don't get me wrong, they put their own spin on it. It's not like they just completely copied them. They did put their own spin on it, and it was nice to be kind of in a dungeons where there was loads of jump scares. But for me, I think that, like I said, the scenes were done well, but for me what made it was the more original bits of the maze, and the way that I think in most mazes you can see where someone's going to jump from. In this one you really couldn't. Like, I got 3 amazing jump scares out of it where you know, I'm walking down a corridor and someone just come out, and I did not know where the hell they had come out of. There wasn't like any slots in the wall or anything like that. So that was done really well. So I would just say, yeah, like just do some more original scenes, because they are obviously way fully capable of it. So Walsall Scare Maze, 100% would recommend going and checking it out. Like I say, solid scare maze, brilliant food, reasonably priced drinks. It's just an overall brilliant night out. They also do off-season events. So this is Christ Massacre. Yeah, Christ Massacre. So we'll definitely be going to check this out. The Scare Maze runs until the 2nd of November. So hopefully this has been a helpful review. No one's probably going to watch it because this is the only video on the channel. But I thought when I was checking it out, I couldn't really see any reviews online. So I thought I'd go and just do it myself, and after experiencing it, it deserves more reviews online, really, in terms of on YouTube and things like that. So yeah, hopefully it's been helpful, and if you do go along, tell me your thoughts in the comment sections below, and you know, subscribe.